All right, thanks for joining. So today we're working on part two of the master plan. What is the master plan? On screen in front of us, we can see understanding the master plan, which is the first section of the Latterly curriculum. And basically, this is the section that says, hey, before you do all this stuff, here's what you're going to be doing. It's the preview, it's the overview, it's the introduction, it's the table of contents. You know, when you're giving a speech, you want to tell the audience what you're going to tell them. You want to tell them, and then in summary, you want to tell them what you just told them. So you end up telling them 3 times. It's great for learning. And that's basically the idea here. Understanding the master plan is telling the audience what they're going to learn. And hopefully getting them motivated, psyched up, understanding the benefits and also the limitations of the course, and understanding where an alternative might be better. So this is section part 2, starting with outlining the front-end path with external resources. Dovetails nicely with the comment of identifying where something else might be better. Because that's what this section is. And there's really not a lot here because I basically have 2 standard resources. Actually, I'll mention 3. So one is Free Code Camp. Free Code Camp, I'm signed up, love it. Here's some benefits of Free Code Camp. One is it's free. And 2 is they have several courses. Here's some of the courses. So Free Code Camp is broader in scope than the Latterly front-end course. The Latterly front-end course is scoped to front-end, and here we can see that Free Code Camp has front-end stuff, then data, visualization, back-end, quality assurance, and scientific computing, data analysis, information security, and coding interview prep. I will actually recommend, I think their coding interview prep. There are better alternatives. I'm a fan of Algo Expert, but Algo Expert is not free. Free Code Camp is free. It's one of the reasons it's really great. Hey, thanks for joining. Got a bunch of people showing up on TikTok. We're also on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So feel free to drop a question. I don't see any questions at the moment. So Free Code Camp is a free resource. I recommend it if you're on a budget. What are some problems with it? Why don't we just always do it? If it's free, why don't we just always do it? Let's dive right into React, front-end development library certification. The first thing we notice right here, before we even click in, we notice hundreds and hundreds of hours, okay? Before you learn front-end development, you're going to want to do the responsive web design certification and the JavaScript algorithms and data structures first. Each of these segments is estimated at 300 hours, so that's almost 1,000 hours of study. How long is that going to take you? Let's say you do 10 hours a week. It's 100 weeks. This is going to take you 2 years. So that's one of the problems, is that there's just a massive amount of content. And we're going to see the content that is there is sometimes unnecessary, and it is sometimes dated. So those are all reasons to skip over it. Let's go to JavaScript first. If I recall correctly, they're still talking about jQuery, which is just super dated. Here's some of the stuff I love. It's not like it's all bad. Basic JavaScript, they go through comments and variables, conditional statements, loops. Some of this stuff isn't necessary though, like push, pop, shift, unshift. If you're trying to get your first job as a coder, I don't care if you know these. Eventually it's nice to know these. One of the issues though is we don't want to like front load, gatekeep, and excessively burden our juniors. What we want them to do is get a job and then keep getting better. And so stuff like this is just unnecessary scope, and it ends up making it a bad return on investment of your time, basically. Glad they touch on debugging. That's great. Basic data structures and algorithms is good. Object-oriented programming, you don't need it. And I know that's controversial to some. I think that's mainly controversial to university educated students because university will spend a lot of time on OOP, but in React, we're functional these days. Some functional programming is nice. However, you could just go straight into the React and you would end up with a moderate amount of functional understanding, a sufficient amount of functional understanding, and a much better use of your time. Okay, so I'm not seeing the jQuery here thing. I'm not seeing the jQuery thing here, so that's kind of good. Must have been under one of the other two. HTML, HTML5, that's great. CSS, accessibility, love it. Responsive web design, Flex, love it. You don't need grid. You just don't need grid. Oh, we've got a comment. Oh man, do you think going through the entirety of Free Code Camp is equivalent to a boot camp? No, I don't. I don't. Depends what you mean by the entirety of Free Code Camp. So there is no boot camp on earth that's going to teach you front-end development, back-end development, quality assurance, and data analysis, and information security. It's just way too many things. So no one should be doing the entirety of Free Code Camp. Now, if you mean like one of these, like just one of these, I also don't think that's equivalent to a boot camp. I think you're going to get a better education in a boot camp. The content might line up, but if you have a boot camp that's teaching you grid, I think that's unnecessary. And I think we're going to get to, it's not here either. So I want to get to, does it say jQuery? Maybe they took it out. Okay, there it is. So if you have a boot camp that's teaching you Bootstrap and jQuery, okay, Bootstrap is maybe okay. I think Material is better these days, but Bootstrap is cool. It depends which Bootstrap they're doing, 3, 4, or 5. If they're still teaching you Bootstrap 3, that's a problem. Let's check this out. If I can see which Bootstrap this is. Font Awesome is great. Love Font Awesome. Create a Bootstrap row. Yeah, it's not immediately obvious which Bootstrap, so I don't really have a problem with that. But jQuery is just totally outdated. So I would see it as a red flag if your boot camp is teaching you jQuery. And so that's one of the reasons I would say it's not equivalent. So on the one hand, Free Code Camp is giving you some stuff you don't need. And on the other hand, the stuff that you do need, namely React, it's teaching you an old version. So component did mount, we could go in through here, but really component did mount gives it away. They're teaching you class-based React, which is dated. Now, if you get good at this, you can still get a job. Okay, that's the good news. But the bad news is as soon as you get that job, you're gonna have to learn the new way of doing React. So there's pros and cons, and basically my rule of thumb is Free Code Camp is great. I love what they're doing for the community. And if you're on a budget, I highly recommend them. But if you're not on a budget, there's a lot better places you can look. That's basically my guidance. Sorry, accidentally left. Can you answer the question above? Oh, okay. All right, let me repeat. Free Code Camp in its entirety. There's no boot camp on earth that will do what Free Code Camp does in its entirety. If you look at all these, the scope is way too broad. So there should be no boot camp that is this varied in scope. Doing front end, doing back end, doing quality assurance, doing scientific computing, data analysis, information security. These are like different career paths. So there should be no boot camp that's doing this. That's a huge red flag. I don't know of any that exist, and if you found one, it would be a huge red flag. It's a sign of disorganized boot camp. The point of a boot camp is to expedite your learning and position you for a particular job or family of jobs. This would not position you for a particular job or family of jobs. It's too all over the map. So in the one sense, like, no, that's not equivalent to a boot camp, but like, what if you just picked one of these? Also no. So like responsive web design, you should learn that at a boot camp. However, stuff like this, CSS grid, I don't think you need that. And if all of your bootcamp teaches you is this one, they're not teaching you enough, because you need more than responsive web design. You need to know JavaScript, and then you're going to want to learn React. Basically, if they teach you React or Angular or Vue, I'll give them a pass. But if they're teaching you Vue or Angular, it's at least a yellow flag, if not a straight up red flag. Let's go look at the good boot camps. Here we go to coursereport.com. This is where you can go find a great boot camp. Let's go to all schools and just sort by most reviewed. Here's a problem I see some people making. Look at this. Lewagen is phenomenal. Literally world-class boot camp right here. And they have a 4.99 with over 2,000 reviews. Now, there are other boot camps with a 5.0. And one of the mistakes that I see people making is thinking that a 5.0 is better than a 4.99. It's not, because the 5.0 is going to have 20 reviews. The 4.99 is going to have over 2,000 reviews. So please don't sort by best reviewed. So you see 5.0 with 1 review. Stay away from this place. Are y'all with me? I love Free Code Camp. I'm loving React. Can you go over some hooks sometime, like context ref history? Yeah, I'll do that sometime. I don't know. If I get like 2 other people to give it a vote in the chat, then I'll go over it now. But it feels kind of off scope right now. But y'all are with me that you don't want the 5.0 1 review. You don't want the 5.0 3 review. Basic statistics would tell you you're not even mimicking a normal distribution until you get over 35 or so. And really the law of large numbers says you need over 100. I have a published academic paper in this field, and I think you go over 400. So anyway, so let's look at, so Lewagen is really great, but they're not in the US, so that's a problem. New Camp is really great, but they're kind of weird, so that's a problem. Springboard, let's look at that. And then App Academy is one that I recommend. This is where we get into the ones where I really recommend it. App Academy is super high quality. And let's look at their curriculum. Front-end developer or full stack, either one, but you need to be front-end before you're full stack. Curriculum. We want to get out of course report and onto their actual website. Here's their website. And here's the App Academy website. Immersive courses, that's great. Actually, any of these are great, but let's just click into the immersive. I think the curriculum is the same. It's more a matter of scheduling. Curriculum. Job outcomes, curriculum, coaching, and connections. Yeah, okay. But what is the curriculum? Here we go. Ruby, okay. I'm kind of mad you're doing Ruby, but whatever. Full stack with Rails. What is my front end? HTML forms. Okay, where's my front end? CSS, Flexbox. Great, thanks. Fundamentals of JavaScript. Okay, you see React and Redux. This is what I was going for. So App Academy, one of the best, like arguably the best boot camp in the United States. And they're doing React. And it's not like they're an exception. Let's check out Springboard. I'm not going to go through every boot camp, but basically all the good boot camps are doing React, basically. So here's the one with a job guarantee. Let's go for that. Software engineering career track, job guarantee. Curriculum. Okay, I'm going to learn JavaScript. Great. Ajax and jQuery. Backend, Node and Express, React.js, and Redux. Okay, so they mentioned React.js and Redux. You're doing all of these, right? Okay, so this is like a full stack thing. 20 to 25 hours per week. It'll take you 9 months. So full stack is great. I think it's a little overrated though. Oh, hey, there's my friend Zeros 12 Wiser. What's up? Yeah, I do remember you. So Zeros 12 Wiser tuned in for my Nexomon stream. So I do coding and games. So this one's more coding, so hopefully it's not too boring, but thanks for stopping by. So the good thing about full stack, you'll earn more money, you have a higher employment rate. It might be the case that they only do a job guarantee because it's full stack and they know the employment rate is that good. Here's the bad part about full stack is it takes a lot more time. Where did that curriculum go? Yeah. So 20 to 25 hours per week, you can do it in 9 months. Okay, that's reasonable. And we saw the ratings. This is a well-reviewed boot camp. But I got to tell you, you could get a job in like 4 months if you focus on the right things. And it would not be a full stack job. It would be a front-end job. But you could get a job in 4 months, and then while you're on the job, you could learn back end, and you could still be a full stack developer next year. But you would be like on the job a lot quicker, and it's going to end up saving you time and money. If you do the upfront payment one, 10 grand is pretty good actually. Although if you work with me, I charge less than that. But as far as the top boot camps go, that's really affordable. So I think I basically answered the question at this point. Let me scroll back up. Thank you. Yeah, hey, you got it. David Grossman, thanks for turning up. Hey, if you're getting value out of this, please give it a like. Which branch on developing do you believe is the best? Feature branches. Hey, actually, Git is related to what we're talking about today. So let me just set the stage real quick and then I'll dive in. So the 2 front-end paths that I recommend, one is Free Code Camp, and I would say do these top 3. It's still worth it, I think, to chat with me because I can trim this down. You know what? Just go through all of them. If you want to do it on your own, power to you, and get these top 3. So if you're on a budget, Free Code Camp, get these top 3, and then you're ready to start applying to jobs. This will give you the coding skills. It's not going to give you the job interview skills. And I want to highlight that interviewing for a programming job is its own skill set, and it's a skill set which is just as important as coding itself, and it often takes just as much time. So I think you can actually learn to code in 6 weeks, believe it or not. That may sound wild, but I think you can become a competent front-end web developer in about 6 weeks. And I think you're going to need at least another 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, but at least 4 weeks to become decent at interviewing and at applying for jobs, blasting out your resume, network with people that you should be networking with, and getting callbacks, interviewing, and doing well in those interviews. I think that's going to take you at least 4 weeks, and could be up to 8 or more. Really, I think under 6 months for most people, like 4 to 6 months for most people, they can learn to code and land their job in 4 to 6 months. And it might be 3 months of learning to code and 3 months of job search. So that's Free Code Camp. The other one is Codecademy, and I'll get to the Git question, but let me just talk about Codecademy. Front-end engineer path. By the way, I learned to code from Codecademy. They did not have Codecademy Pro at that time, which was nice in a way because I was able to do their front-end engineer path for free because they didn't have a Pro. So now the front-end engineer path costs money. But it's like paying for an online course. It's a lot cheaper than going to a boot camp. Let's see, pricing for individuals. Let's say I pay monthly. It's $40 a month if I pay monthly. If I pay for the year, $20 a month. Either way, a lot less than a boot camp. The question is, are you motivated to do it on your own? Are you going to stick with it? Are you going to stub your toe and like need some help, right? Do you want someone to help you along? What's the benefit of having someone help you along? You can get referrals and references to jobs, so there's a social networking benefit. You can learn more deeply and you can learn more quickly. So the time measurement is going to be on learning more quickly, basically. It took me a year to learn how to code and land my first job. I think if I had worked with a decent mentor, I would have been in the 4 to 6 month range as well, I think. So with that extra 6 to 8 months, how much money would I have made? It would have been thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay. So those are the 2 resources that I recommend, and I'll give you one more that I've started working with this guy recently. Christian, what's his last name? I don't know. I have to go to my, hold on, I have his link. Christian Floria. So this guy, he's a coach like me on the right here. I recently did this podcast with him. Recommend you check it out. It was a ton of fun. Why would I refer you to Christian? Well, if you live in Europe, basically there's like different hiring laws, there's different culture, there's different programming norms, there's different interview etiquette. For all of these reasons, I generally don't work with international individuals. There are some exceptions. I've only actually ever taken on one student who is international, and it's a success story. So I worked with a young lady from China, and she did not want a job. She wanted to get into graduate school, and we made it happen. But I generally don't do that because, frankly, getting a job in the United States as an immigrant worker is really difficult. I do not have expertise with customs and immigration, green card process, all of this. I'm really not familiar. And then there are, of course, international students who don't want to come to the United States. They would like to get a job in their home country, and that's reasonable as well. I just don't know much about those local industries, basically. So if you live in Europe, I'm happy to refer you to this guy. So that's resource number 3. If you live in the States, give me a shout. Cool. So that is the background. Those are the external resources that I would point you to. Yeah, so let's talk about Git. I could talk about the job search and post-hire care and development momentarily. So Git, I basically like Git flow. I don't think you need to be a purist about it. In fact, I think if you're too much of a purist about it, it becomes a real pain in the ass. But it's a good general model. Let's see. Let's go to one of my open source contributions, like Supabase. So basically, here's Supabase. They have their own origin. That is their own location where they upload code. So this is a GitHub origin. There's no developer that works directly on this code base. You might hear about developers talking about, oh, I'm working directly on the main branch, or I'm working directly on the master branch. You're not. You're working on your local clone of the master branch, and the origin is still in a remote cloud location. That's the difference between a local repository and a remote repository. So whenever you push to a remote, and the origin remote is like the single source of truth, basically. So I am a fan of having a single source of truth, like a master or a main branch. There are some ways to organize your branches that there is no single source of truth. You might have environment branches, and I'm a fan of environment branches if you do them following Git flow. What I'm not a fan of is having environment branches that do not connect with each other, and they're sort of siblings. So yeah, you see V1, V2, V1, these are on main. So you're cutting a release from your main branch, and then if you want to push that onto a different branch, that's fine. But what you shouldn't do is just have a whole other unconnected branch. That's a pain. So you can have a dev branch if you want. I think that's cool. I don't think it's necessary. I can treat my main branch as a dev branch, and then instead of a and so since my main branch is dev branch, I would have like a prod branch. It's the same thing. It's like, do you want to have a dedicated dev branch, or do you want to have a dedicated prod branch? I think both of those are fine. I don't think you need to be a purist about it, but basically this is the right model. have one source of truth and then have one branch. So like have one stable branch and then have one active branch. And you can do more if you have multiple environments, that's fine. No developer should be pushing directly to those. You should be working on a feature branch and doing a pull request to the active branch. So here's feature branches. This is all part of Git flow. Atlassian.com, really great. These are the Bitbucket folks. They also do Jira and Confluence and whatever else. So how did I get here? I just Google search Git flow and they come right up. So what's a feature branch? A feature branch is a branch that is associated with a feature. Baller description, right? So generally, for issue traceability, you're going to create an issue like a GitHub issue, new issue. And then you're going to create a branch that refers to that issue number. And I might even call it 3332 dash click new tab. So I want to actually include the number in my branch name. That's not strictly required for feature branching, but that is a practice that I highly recommend. If you're in Jira, Jira will also have the issue number at the top. You can, if you're in Basecamp, Basecamp will have an issue number at the top. You can basically always get an issue ID. And the benefit of that is when you're naming your feature, you want to be specific. So if I just said click, click button instead of 3332 click button, there could be a bunch of different user stories or issues related to clicking different sorts of buttons. And it's like, which one are you talking about, dude? So that's why including the issue ID is really helpful in your feature branch name. So here the feature branch is what the developer is actually pushing to. The feature branch exists on the developer fork. Let's go back to Supabase. So here's the Supabase origin, and you can see they have 959 forks, of which I'm one of them. So here is my Supabase. So this is my fork. So I'm not working on the Supabase like origin. I'm working on my fork, and then I'm going to pull request their origin. I'm not working on my master. I'm working on my feature branch. And then let's see if I can go actually show the one of the pull requests that I did. Let's go to next iron session. I think I have an active one up. Yeah, here's my active PR. It's out of date. Let's update it. Anyway, you can see, oh, this came from my master. Ew, that feels bad. So basically, I'm not drinking my own medicine. So you can see that this came from my fork for next iron session. I've done more than one. Let's see if I was on good behavior another time. Master, okay, there we go. That one, and that one. Cool. So it looks like this one I was on good behavior. I did not include the issue number. And I think that's because it wasn't actually approved for the issue yet. So it would have been a little better, I think, if it said 354. Oh no, that's a pull request, not an issue number. So it kind of seems like there was not an issue for this one, but I still could have created one and included the number. But this is the feature name, dev, debs, so express next. So dependencies express next. Yeah, so changing dependencies there is the idea. And this is on my fork. So it's a feature branch on my fork being pull requested to the origin master. So that's the right way to do it, basically. And then you cut a release branch from master. Here's where I do get a little controversial, is I prefer to not have hotfix branches at all. I prefer to push all your fixes through master. And that way your release is never out of sync. And you never have to merge Like whenever you merge a release branch, it's always a fast forward, and you never have to resolve conflicts with a release. It's always weird to me resolving conflicts with a release because a release should be a system user and master is also a system user. So you would think that like the system user never conflicts with itself, and that's possible, but that's only possible with the rule hotfix branches are not allowed. That being said, most people do allow hotfix branches, so work with your team to see how they do it. Basically, one way to do it is that you have a fork of a release branch, and then you pull requests from your forked release branch to the origin release branch. That's one way to do it. And that's about it. So hotfixes are arguably the only weird piece of this. The other thing, there's two other things here that I do. Let's see if my website has any of this. One is that I like to merge. I don't like to rebase. But, whatever works for your team. Staged branch. The other thing is I also do staged branching. Clean checkouts. Okay. Basically, if your team wants to do rebasing, and if you don't want to do rebasing, there's something you can do so that you never have to rebase, but it looks like you did. And that is you create a staged branch. You say like 442 my issue, develop on that, and then you create a different branch called my issue dash staged. And this one you reset hard to origin master. And then you check out all edited files from dev feature branch and commit in a single commit. And it ends up looking like you did a squash rebase, but really you didn't. And the whole point of doing that is so that you don't have to do the rebase resolving conflicts. When you rebase, it replays every commit. So if you got 20 commits, you're going to have to fix conflicts like 20 times. Total pain in the ass. So merging gets you around that issue, and also this approach gets you around that issue. Cool. So I think that explains my approach to the Git thing. Let's go over to TikTok real quick. I recently ran into this girl that I'm calling the Git Queen. See if I can mute all that. And let's see if I can remember what her name is. Yep, Lorraine Lung. I think I'm saying that right. 3 basic Git commands you should know. Let's grab this. So here's the master plan. And then here are prerequisite skills. So I'm going to include her stuff on Git, although I think she misses a few, but she really does a really great job. So here's 4 more. I think she has 3 TikTok videos, and she gets like most of the Git commands that a newbie should know. So yeah, follow this chick, Lorraine Lung. I hope I'm saying that right. Very cool lady right there. What to learn to make a SaaS, software as a service. You got to know backend. You can't do front end software as a service. So today I'm focused on front end things. You can do SaaS using a lot of different server-side languages. I recommend Node with Express. So Express.js. So looking at this, Express 5 alpha is available. I would use 4. I would stick with 4. And you can make a software as a service using Express. Check out Railway, where you can host your service and you can also get a database. When you're small, it's going to be completely free. And it's like free. It's not like AWS free tier where if you forget, they start charging you. Or if you use too much, they start charging you. Cool. So that was the second link from Lorraine. Yeah, so here's the third one. This is just like how to install Git. Cool. And I think that brings us back onto the topic. So outlining the front-end path with external resources. Let me also mention, on the topic of external resources, let me also mention some stuff for algorithms. So Algo Expert, this is not for learning to code. This is for your interview prep, but I use them personally, and they've helped me land a FANG job, so I'm a big fan of them. Algo Expert and Systems Expert for system design interviews. ML Expert, if you're a machine learning person, sure, but I don't teach machine learning, so I wouldn't recommend that one. I've never used it. These two are really great. There's also obviously LeetCode. With LeetCode, it's really big. It can be free and you can pay for it. If you want a job at like Facebook, Google, if you want a FANG job, I would pay because they have like you can get specifically LeetCode Facebook questions, for example. But you have to pay to see that list of questions. These are just like forum posts my search is turning up, so I'll skip that. I'm building with Express right now. I love Express. Word, Josh, Word, love it. So many middlewares that you can use. It's really great. So Algo Expert and LeetCode I recommend for your algorithm interview prep. And here's the other big one, big, interviewing.io. So these are like real interviews with real FANG senior engineers. They're actual engineers that do interviews there. This is like a side gig for them. It can get expensive. It's like over $100 per interview, but they're really good. I had an experience at Amazon once. So I've interviewed at Amazon like 5 times. And one of the times I got all the way to the final loop. That's the very final interview. And I thought I did well. And then they said, you didn't pass. And I said, why? And they said, we can't tell you. So that was really weird. And that is where interviewing.io shines. They give you really, really good feedback. It's really specific. Love it. Cool. So I'm going to put that here under the job search stuff. Let's see. All this content, by the way, it's all preparation for my Latterly course. It's in early access free right now. Recommend you sign up, latterly.teachable.com. You can also visit latterly.io and it just forwards. So check that out. It's totally free right now, but not for long. As soon as I get my content together, I'm going to turn the free feature off. So as soon as it's ready, it's not going to be free. So if you're like, oh, it's not quite, it's a work in progress, I don't want to sign up. Well, feel free to wait, but like that's the whole reason it's free right now.
What's wrong with fishy?
What's wrong with fishy? Nothing to my knowledge. What's wrong with it?
You put them in the laundry room?
Oh, because I wasn't sure. So all those stuffed animals, I'm not sure if they're clean or dirty, so I think we should run them through the wash. Where to find your Notepad? So yeah, it's notepad.js.org. If you just Google like Notepad, it's like this third one. Oh, like my Notepad with my notes in it. No, you don't get. No, that's for me. You can look at it right now. Let's see. Do I want to make this public? I really don't, because this is like going to be part of my course content, right? So it's supposed to be proprietary. But you can get the course content for free right now. So all of these notes are pretty ugly, but they're going to get turned into nice videos for you. in the actual course. As well, there's also going to be assessments included, and you're going to be able to get a certificate, develop a portfolio, get a referral, get a reference, get a job. Cool. Any questions on Twitch and YouTube so far? Nope, looking good. Great. So there's interviewing.io. Let me grab the link for Algo Expert, and the other link was LeetCode, of course. So that does it for the external resources. Totally recognize that working with a personal mentor or a coach is not for everyone, although I think it's for a lot of people. But if you're cash strapped, Free Code Camp is out there. There's some problems with it, but it'll work. And Codecademy is great. That's what I used myself. So those are some other options. How about the job search? Let's get into the job search. So let's recap the master plan. You're going to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, then soft skills, and then there's a job search. That's part 7. So high level. Intro, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, soft skills, interviewing, job search. That's it. There's 8, which is like optional. So this is going to be full stack. And then there is optional, miscellaneous, advanced topics. Cool. Full stack React, that will be Next and Blitz. And this is things like advanced testing, accessibility, SEO, SEO, and more. There could be like Agile training. Cool. So it will be temporarily free, or it's free for the people who get it right now. That's a good question. I haven't really thought through that. I think what I'd like to do is create like a forever free version and have like, oh, here's the basic version that's always free, and then here's the better version that's not free. I'm not sure if that's viable financially, though. I need to have enough customers that are buying the paid version that it's viable financially, and then I can make a forever free version. Does that make sense? So currently the plan is that free is going to get shut off for everyone. Like even if you get it now, it will be free for a while, and then I'm not going to charge you without your knowledge. Like that's never going to happen, but you might lose access and get an email that says, hey, now it costs money. Yeah, hadn't really thought through that. Hey, let me know if you have preferences there. But basically, I would like there to eventually be a forever free version, but it's not clear to me that that's going to happen soon or at launch. At launch, there might be only a paid product at initial launch. Okay, so how does the job search work? Basically, there is blast email or blast resume. Before you do that, you need to like have a portfolio, but that should be done by the time you get to job search. So I'm not really talking about your portfolio here. Let's see. You need to do like make sure your resume looks good. Make sure you are on social media and look, and your socials look presentable, particularly LinkedIn. Cool. And once this is good, you don't want to blast your resume before this is true, y'all. You don't want to blast your resume too early. If your resume is malformatted, you're going to burn a lot of bridges. It's going to go right in the dumpster and you're going to get on a blacklist and they're not going to see your next resume. So you want to make sure it looks good the first time, and you don't want to get put on a blacklist because you have like an anime avatar in your LinkedIn profile picture. Like, don't be that person. Have a nice headshot in your LinkedIn. And there's like, so this, the point of this outlining the job search, it's high level. So the point here is to give you a high level view. The point here is not to give you all the details. That will be a whole course section where we dive into the details. So when I tell you, make sure your resume looks good, it begs the question. The question is, what does a good looking resume look like? And I'm going to say, we're not going to talk about that here in the introductory. We're going to talk about that in detail later on in the job search section. Here, I just want to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I don't want to give you the details yet. Does that make sense? So I hope that makes sense. So in general, we want to make sure your resume looks good, make sure you look good on social media, and at that time, let's blast the resume. And there are techniques here. It's like, to who, you know, where, how many in a blast. To give you the TLDR, we want to use Indeed and LinkedIn for job searches. There are also a variety of programming specific platforms like Vettery. But the main places that you're blasting it is these two right here. Oh, there's one more. 100. The ladders. So there's 3 blasting services that I recommend. Indeed, LinkedIn, and the ladders. And then there are these other platforms like Vettery where it's not so much a blast. You're going to do it at the same time because you want to make sure your socials and your resume looks good before you go sign up. But it's not really a blast. What's Vettery? Vettery is awesome. Hired.com, Vettery, they merged. It looks like they haven't like merged the websites yet or something, but they're the same company now. Vettery acquires Hired. So Vettery is the one that owned Hired. I'm pretty sure that I knew that. If you decide to work with Vettery or Hired, contact your personal agent. You'll be assigned a personal agent, like a concierge. They're really great. Kind of like a recruiter, basically. I guess they're not fans of the title, but it's basically your personal recruiter. Contact them and ask them whether you need to separately register for Hired and Vettery or whether behind the scenes they're using the same database, because I'm not sure, because the merger was recent. So they might not yet have merged their databases. Then so after you blast the resume, you want to follow up with corporate recruiters at target companies. That is social network. You don't want to contact them before applying. You want to apply, be in their system, and then contact them. It makes it easier for them to look you up. Makes the whole thing go a lot smoother. You also want to be attending meetups, conferences, and participating in social media. This could be like Twitter Spaces, TikTok, whatever. You want to be participating. Oh, commenting, and of course, commenting on people's LinkedIn like conversations. The meetups is a really great key here. And that's basically the job search. Then there's like 7 would be have interviews, like interview technique. So absolutely going to cover interview technique for coding, algorithm, behavioral, system design. Yep, those are the main ones. Coding, algorithm, behavioral, and system design. My emphasis will be on coding, and I will mostly refer you to third-party resources for these 3. However, if you do work with me one-on-one, I do mock interviews with you. So I'll do rated behavioral, like I will do these mock interviews with you. But I don't consider myself like the world's authority on high-quality instructional content on these. Like I said, algo expert and system design expert, really great resources. I do have a lot to offer in the behavioral space. So I actually created a tool to, like Rockstar Boy is my #1 open source repository, and it's designed to help you study for behavioral interviews. So I do have quite a bit of expertise there. That's really it. These are the pieces of the job search. Any questions at the moment? Scanning around, no questions at the moment. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Josh is hanging in there. Appreciate it, man. What about after the job search? You've got your job, but let's remember, you're still a fairly junior. I don't want to see junior in your job title. That is going to be another thing that we cover, by the way. To who, to what job titles and descriptions. So I'll tell you, so for example, I don't want you just to look for junior roles, but you can look for junior roles. Let's go to the website real quick and I'll show you. There's a bunch of titles that you could apply for. Full stack developer. I'm not finding my article. I wonder if like the search is busted on my website for some reason. Yep, okay. Front, yeah, here's the keyword right here, front end. Kicking off, it's not showing up. So this article is not showing up in my website search for some reason. That's disconcerting. Anyway, there are a bunch of job titles that you will be ready to apply for. So don't restrict yourself to just junior roles. In fact, I almost want to say like stay away from those that have the junior title, like keyword in the title. Because you're going to advance your career quicker if you can basically market yourself like, hey, out of the gate I was intermediate and it's year 2 or year 3 and you're already ready to be a senior. That can happen. Don't rule it out. Cool. So what about post-hire care and development? Let's talk about that. One is like understanding the difference between a junior, intermediate, and senior dev. 2 is working to become full stack. So by the time you're senior, I recommend basically everyone becomes full stack eventually. If you want to be the best front-end developer in the world, you need to know server-side technology, because at a certain point, server-side technologies influence front-end outcomes. So front-end, we care about the user experience, we care about performance, we care about SEO and accessibility and things like that. We also care about things like developer experience and build time and the ability to test and release quickly. All of these at a certain point are going to touch on back-end technologies, whether it's feature flags or database optimization or rendering mode for your application. Those are going to impact all the things that I just talked about. So even if you're like, John, I don't want to do back-end work, I just want to be a really great front-end developer, I'm still going to tell you at a certain point you need to become full stack. Like, what are T-shaped skills? Learning TypeScript, learning testing, TypeScript, and other advanced topics. Yep, TypeScript should go up here for sure. Actually, TypeScript is included in both of these. So Next and Blitz will both have you doing TypeScript. So another question is like, how to succeed at a performance review. How to win friends and influence people. Isn't this the Carnegie book? How to win friends. Yeah, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. It's like the name of a very famous book, but it comes into corporate politics. It's going to be related. Intrapreneurship. When to change jobs. Let's see, junior, intermediate, senior, full stack. Okay, other languages to learn. These are all related to becoming a better developer. Yeah, how and when to change jobs. I think these are basically, and then there's also, when it comes to post-hire career and development, if you work with laterally, there's just plain old post-hire coaching hours. So I have placed students into their first job, and I'm not going to leave you hanging, basically. A lot of us, oh, that's another one, dealing with imposter syndrome. I dealt with imposter syndrome, right? I think a lot of us who are developers at any level, junior, mid, senior, all the way up to like people managers, directors, and CEOs. We can also talk about getting into people management. That's another big development question is, hey, let's say I'm an intermediate developer. Do I want to go straight into people management, or do I want to do some individual contributor at the senior, principal, master, really, really advanced technical levels, architect? So these would be like senior paths, people management, full stack dev, architecture. Like cloud upskilling, like cloud skills. Let's just call it cloud skills. I guess that makes sense. That's going to be something you're going to want to consider as you're advancing. You don't need to worry about it when you're a junior, but as you advance, you want to deal with that. Okay. I think that covers it. Senior paths, basically picking your, yeah, specialist IC. Cool, yeah. And I think that covers it. Yeah, after you land a job, if you want to keep meeting, that's totally fine. And that could be, hey, you know, we talked about CSS, but I'm just feeling like I'm not good at CSS. Like I got this job, I thought I knew CSS, I'm getting some requirements, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. Totally fine. We can just meet and brush up, no problem. Or, hey, you know, John, you taught me React. They gave me this job because they said, if you know React, you can learn Angular really easily, right? And I told them, yeah. And now I'm really scared because I got the job and I'm scared that, can I actually do it? It's like, yeah, let's learn Angular. I had a girl that was placed earlier this year, and I taught her React, and then she picked Vue up. I wouldn't be caught dead teaching people Vue because the job market is too thin. But it is fun to work with, and it's totally true. She picked it right up. If you know how React works, not just the basics, right? We're going to go further. We're going to go Redux. We're going to go very broad mastery, not quite mastery, but very broad understanding of React, not just the basics. And when you have that, when you have the fundamentals, picking up Angular, picking up Vue, picking up Svelte, picking up whatever, it's pretty straightforward. So I think that covers the post-hire care and development. Thank you all for joining. If you have any other questions, throw them out there, but that is the content I wanted to cover today. So we have now completed our understanding the master plan section. We did the trial by fire previously, kind of jumped ahead. So I will take all of these bits and cut them up and make a nice pretty video where I cut out all the pieces of jumping around topics and you just get straight to the good stuff. Then we're going to start building out the detailed HTML section. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks for joining.